Hello everybody, Happy New Year, welcome to my channel. Today I am going to show you how to draw a body perspective. So it's going to be a whole body. Let's just say the camera pointing from the top view, so you can see the body from the top down. And I'm going to show you the technique of how to draw the body in that point of view or perspective. So basically, in the beginning I'm going to show you the process and my thought process of how to achieve that, and then after that, the rest of the video will be the process of the drawing, and I'm just gonna add the voice commentary on it. Anyways, so if you have any question, please post it down below in the comment, and subscribe if you want to. What else was I gonna say? Let's just say, well, Happy New Year again. And if you have any suggestion on what kind of tutorial or what you get stuck on, please post a comment down below. I will eventually get to it. And if anybody posts a comment down below, I usually get to all of you guys. All right? Have a great day. Enjoy your coffee. Bye-bye.
Alright, today we are going to draw a body in perspective. This one is a little bit they're not that tricky, but if you don't know the basic of perspective, it might be a little tricky for you, because you have to really know the basic of it. You have to know what the vanishing point is and where the parallel lines are, and this one I don't think you need to know horizontal line, but just know the vanishing point would be fine. The horizontal line would kind of lay flat because you are looking up at the bird eye view, so your horizontal line would be really higher up. Alright, so okay, let's get started. Usually the easiest way is to start off with a box. So here's a box that I start, and make sure that all the vertical line that goes along with the body go all the way to one vanishing point, and make sure this horizontal line and the z-axis can be tapered and have another vanishing point in the back, which that is going to go to the horizontal line on the other vanishing point, but you don't have to. You can make it parallel. All these four lines could be these two. Let's just say A and B have to be parallel, and C and D has to be parallel. All these four of the vertical line, they go into one point. Depends on how far it goes, and the further it goes, the longer the body, the less extreme it's going to be. So if you were to draw, let me explain this first, and I'll explain another one to you. So these two lines, they're all parallel, even the one up and the one down, and these are the line for the ground basically, and these are the line that are, like, say, the elevated level. So these are the line that are on the grid that are higher, or the grid that are on the second floor or something, if you think of it as a level or something, right? But if you look at it really, I'm just gonna have to extend it here because the vanishing point is going to be way below. So that's all this line coming to this vanishing point. Then you're gonna get the box, and then you're gonna start these two parallel. They're all like on the z-axis or on the side, left and right could be parallel too. But sometimes you could play with it a little bit by making it taper back and expanding toward us. So toward us is going to be wider, and as it goes into space, it's going to be a little bit smaller. You could make it parallel and taper it a little bit. That should be fine too. And all these lines that I show you on this horizontal, they should be parallel. All of them should be parallel. Even though this one is on a higher grid, it will be parallel. So, and all these lines on the z-axis would be parallel too. So you don't understand the axis. Axis is x, y, that would be z. So the z would be the yellow line. The y would be the vertical, which is the green, and the x would be the blue. So start off with the box, and the reason I have the box up to only shoulder because then I usually add another box, which all these line has to go down all the way to the vanishing point too. But you have to set up the grid so that it set on here, and this line, if I drew, it has to be parallel, parallel, and then up. But when I draw, I just use the estimation or educated guess, so for the speed. But in the back of my mind, I always think of the vanishing point, which you might not see on the paper. So the proper way to do it is to establishing the perspective or the vanishing point first, so that you get the feel of what it should look like really in the correct way before you start kind of winging it. So I would say proper setup would get you better drawing in terms of the correct perspective and the correct everything. You can freehand it, it's fine, but just know that in the future, if you don't know perspective, you have a hard time creating any concept art if you want to be a concept artist. But if you just want to have fun and want to do this just for fun, drawing and not serious, then you can just freehand it. What I was gonna talk about, I kind of lost my train of thought. Oh yeah, because you can have the box go all the way up over the head, but I prefer to have another box for the head instead, so that I can have a better measurement of because the shoulder should be about, like if you have a shoulder, the shoulder should be 3 heads high usually, so it should be about, so you could split it in 3 ways and it should all be even, right, or pretty close, and that should get you a pretty accurate proportion of how wide the shoulder should be. And when you draw a box, don't draw it like this. Is what we call isometric. Isometric is good for like if you're designing let's just say the looking down game, or SimCity, or any game that you could look from downward, and it doesn't, the real world doesn't happen that way, but the isometric has its use in terms of designing level for games, or in designing the object. In some concept, you could use the isometric, like designing the detail of the buildings, so that you can see both sides of the wall in terms without any distortion. Because when you add a perspective, sometimes it's kind of hard to get to see how tall the window would be, and if the window are lining up. But with the perspective line, the perspective is more like a big picture, right? When you're combining everything together and you want to put those buildings into the scene, and that's how the real world perceived. But isometric like these, it's pretty useful if the modeler or somebody who is using 3D program to take it and start designing it in the isometric, and they have the isometric window for those 3D programs. Alright, so I guess I'm just gonna stop here, and then we are going to see what I was how I actually draw it. So the video might take a little bit longer because I add 2 more body. So this would be like an L shape, but all these lines are going into the one vanishing point. And on this guy here, you almost not seeing this wall at all, because things are turning this onto this side, and as it goes, you not get to see the wall. And you're gonna start, as it go to the right, you're gonna start seeing the wall on the left as it goes here. And same as, and if you're going downward, you're gonna start seeing less of the body and more of the top, basically. And if you're going that way, you're gonna see more of the body standing up. Eventually you're gonna see the guy actually standing up straight as it goes that way, because perspective, drawing that way, and I was gonna say it's kind of like making it going from seeing one on this top view. I'm kind of lost my train of thought here, sorry. I just been running about 10 kilometers. So anyways, I think I'm just gonna start now, because the more I explain it, there will be more stuff that I can explain. But if you are gonna draw many people in one scene, then you could use this box into that perspective method. So you have to get them onto the same vanishing point to get them to look like they were on the same plane, and make sure that you use the same plane for the grid, right? So anyways, yeah, I hope you will enjoy the tutorial, and don't forget to click like and subscribe, because you know you like it. All right. Oh, also one more thing I want to add. I just thought of it. If you don't know where the half of the box is, by just guessing, the way to do it is basically draw a cross line, then you find half of the section. So I was off by a little bit, quite a bit. Then you can draw this, and actually I'm not off, because all these line that cut, it will be right on that waistline. So if I move that to the middle, because he's standing in the middle of this, right? So this line from here, move it to the midsection of that would be where his waistline would be, estimately. All right, so yeah, if you don't know how to lay down the body properly, then just draw the X on the box surface, and then you get these line. But then this line, since the body are distance away from this plane, is right in the middle, so you probably have to find the middle on this side and then draw the line cross. Then you're gonna have the area for where that waistline should be, and then the shoulder here, right? So all right, I hope this helped. There we go. Let's for now get started for real. Alright, so I start out with a rectangular line, but then I haven't quite find my vanishing point yet, so it's gonna take me quite a while to freehand this. And I think on the line on the right side, it need to be a little it need to show a little face on that right side. So now I got all these lines in perspective. So we got the box in the perspective, which has the vanishing point down below, like I showed you guys earlier. So now we have the box, and now I'm trying to find the head for the box. But then I was gonna adding a little bit of tricks by like making the head tilt or turn, but then I thought that might be a little too much for the, like, sometimes I forgot I'm doing a tutorial. I just want to get the cool thing going. But then once you get the box, if it's easier for you to break it down into some form of a geometry, then do so, because that's gonna make it easier for you. And once you get all these geometry lines, so you have to find the waistline, right? And the arm are going to the hands is going to be halfway on your thighs. Your elbow would be right around your rib cage, but the waistline would be a little bit below your rib cage. So find the waistline, which is halfway, estimately, not always. Some people have shorter legs and some people have longer legs. That depends. But for the average, I would kind of put it in the middle. And to find the middle section I showed you earlier there. So I just kind of simplify and break it down into that geometry form by sort of like a cylinder curved box in the midsection of the bigger box. So we use this bigger box to be some sort of a guideline so that we can put the body into perspective. And another smaller box on top, I use it for to finding the head of where the plane of the head should be and things like that. But when you draw the box on top, make sure that it line up with the plane of the box, the bigger box. So all the X line has to parallel with the X line, and the Y line has to, if it has another vanishing point in the back, then it should line up with the vanishing point in the back. Or if you want to freehand it, you have to kind of get it close to think of the perspective and vanishing point in mind. All right, so now I'm starting to fleshing out all these geometry. So this is a bit tricky, so you have to know which I'm putting the shoulder muscle, which is going to be these are like you playing with the overlapping. So the deltoid is going to be the most prominent muscle that kind of closer up to us. Then the bicep and the tricep, you might not get to see them because they're like a little bit behind. And then the pectoral, stomach, and the groin. And I'm just gonna not put the cloth on him because it's make it harder to see where the knees and the calves, the shin, and the foot would be. So I'm just gonna put him in the underwear or shorts per se. Now the legs are gonna be the tricky part. So if you're breaking down the box in half, you might want to break down the box into another half to kind of get the estimate length of the legs of where the knees should be. And when you break the bottom half of the box in half by using the intersection point and lines, you might want to, the knee would be below that line or right around that line. If it goes too low, it might not look too pretty, so you might have to adjust it and make it look good by eyeballing it, I guess. Because sometimes when you get it too accurate, it might not look as good as when you're trying to accentuate or exaggerate certain part of it. So that's going to take some practice. If you don't nail it in the first trial, it's okay. Just keep trying and keep drawing this box in the different perspective and different way and different position. Then eventually you are going to be able to draw this body in the perspective eventually. But first and foremost, I would recommend you have to be able to draw a body in a front view, side view, and or in the normal eye level position first. If you nail those, then when you come to this perspective, it will make it easier for you. But if you still can't get them to look at the eye level in the right proportion, then when you are trying to get all this body into the perspective, it's gonna make it even harder for you because you don't know where the body, where the proportion or section of the body should be, and that's gonna make it really hard to try to determine which part of the body would be how long, how short, where the knees should be, and all that stuff. So you might want to have like some sort of a guideline for those proportion in mind, or you can Google them for like human body proportion, or you can just Google human body proportion with my name on it, Xia Taptara, and you probably find something in Google. So now I'm drawing two more boxes on the right side and on the below. So this I want to just demonstrate that if you want to add another person in the scene, then you can just draw another box, go off from the existing box that you have, and then you're gonna have the two characters interact. They could face each other or they could face away from each other. This look like the guy standing in the elevator, 2 or 3 of them, right? But if you want them to stand a little further apart, you can draw another box right next to it, and all this box has to be right around the width and the height has to be pretty similar, so you would get the same proportion. And a lot of time when I see a lot of people trying to do the people in the environment, sometimes I see a lot of mistake by scale, like people would put the wrong scale in the distance, and that happens because you are not really measuring like how far of the grid should be, and in between this grid should be how long. So that's actually came from maybe you're not used to using the perspective, or maybe you don't know how to use the perspective grid in the right way. So all right, I guess this is going to be pretty similar way as I draw on the figure earlier, which is this one, but it's just going to be slightly different, because then now you have to be able to identify which. I'm just going to draw this really quickly because I have to get back to work, basically, because this, like, I drew this in the morning before I get to work, not before I get to work, before I get to work on my actual job in the workstation. These are just like I'm doing it on iPad, and usually I just take like 20-30 minutes for the scribble, and maybe sometimes I just scribble some concept, and sometimes I just scribble some form of a basic or easier tutorial like this one. So you have to know which direction is the plane is facing and how do you want to position the body, and you break this. You have to try to break this section down into three-dimensional space, so everything should have 3 planes, and which way is the side of the arm, the front of the arm facing, or the side of the arm facing, or the back of the arm facing, right? So try to use your what you've learned from this tutorial and try to apply it onto the next drawing, and I'm pretty sure this should be enough for you to kind of go on and create your own things. But if you want to try to do some posts along with these, that's going to be trickier. If you want those tutorial on how to, like, maybe moving the arm to the side or moving the arm up or put some kind of pose in this perspective, then let me know down in the comments, and I will make another tutorial on this, but with a different type of pose, because I'm sure you guys are interested in more of the character in pose than just this static typical standing here. But this will be a pretty good practice, so if you nail this, then the next one would be some body in pose and body in some form of movement or something in this type of top view perspective. All right, guys, I guess my time is running out, and I have to go do some other things and do more tutorial for you guys. So I guess for the rest of these, if you just watch it, you'll be able to tell what I'm trying to do or what I'm doing on the third person on the next one by just watching my lines. I hope you enjoyed the tutorial, and I will see you in the next tutorial. And if you have any suggestion on what type of basic tutorial you want to see, I'm just going to continue doing this series of body and pose. So if you have anything related to that, then you can give me some suggestion down below in the comment section, and I'll try to rearrange them. And I still haven't forgot somebody who requests sequential art. They're coming. It's just that I'm trying to wrap this into the same body and pose and perspective. Since we are still in that along that same line, then I might put the sequential on a little bit afterward. But It depends if I'm running out of things in the body and pose in perspective and all that, then I'll probably start on that earlier. Alright guys, well, have a good rest of the day and enjoy your coffee. Bye-bye. Oh, the drawing is still going on, so it's probably going to be another probably 5-10 minutes. And don't forget to click like. See you later.